Well, I hope everyone's been having a wonderful meetings and experiences this morning. What a fabulous place we are in. And we are delighted to welcome you all to our Connect Talk session, the evolution of luxury with Afar and Kind Traveler. Now, in today's session, we are joined by the wonderful Joe Diaz, co-founder of Afar, and Jessica Blotter, co-founder of Kind Traveler. And together with Afar and Kind Traveler, we'll be exploring how luxury has evolved, what this means for luxury travel industry, and how we here as industry experts from the Californian product and global travel advisors can adapt to these changes to grow our businesses. Now, firstly, it's my pleasure to introduce Joe Diaz, co-founder of Afar. Afar is the leading media brand for travelers who care. Founded by Joe and Greg Sullivan in 2009, Afar believes in the power of luxury travel, the power of travel to make the world a better place through experiences that enrich the traveler personally, directly support communities visited, and are sensitive to the effects on our planet. And Joe frequently lends his expertise on a variety of topics and has been featured in the New York Times, Fast Company, CNN, so he's a very established man indeed, as well as numerous speaking engagements around the world. And I'm also delighted to introduce Jessica Blotter, co-founder of Kind Traveler. Now, Kind Traveler is the first responsible travel platform that empowers travelers to positively impact the communities they visit through a network of over 350 hotels, charities, and destination partners across 25 countries. And Jessica is also a global speaker on responsible tourism and serves on the board of the Center for Responsible Travel. And they work with Visit California trade partners and has been working to drive responsible tourism efforts forwards with DMOs and hotel partners in the Golden State since 2021. So I think we can agree we're all in good hands right now. So before we start, we wanted to gather some insights from you, our luxury travel experts. So on your tables, you'll see a QR code. So if everyone can scan that code, and you'll see a question. And that question is, what comes to mind when you think of luxury today? So I'll give you all a minute, and the answers are going to appear on my iPad, and I'll share with you the results. So do start scanning. And the question again is, what comes to mind when you think of luxury today?
I'm going to play some Jeopardy music.
Okay, so the biggest words I've got going on are exclusivity, understated, we have well-being, ungoogleable experiences, convenient, unique, relaxing. Some people are having some nice times here over the last couple of days. Tailored, sustainability. Okay, some very interesting insights there. Thank you very much. So, Joe, Jessica, welcome again to the California Luxury Forum, and we're delighted for you both to be here and provide valuable insights to our audience. So to start with, we want to look at the topic of global pressures shaping our definition of luxury and how we're seeing sustainability important to our consumers. So firstly, Jessica, I'm going to come to you. So with these new evolving expectations of luxury, it'd be great to explore the forces that are shaping today's luxury evolution. So what are the global pressures that are shaping today's definition of luxury travel, and which demographics have you the most interest?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you all today. Some of the forces and pressures that are creating the luxury travel evolution largely revolve around the pandemic, the climate crisis, and then on top of those things, we have a racial, gender, and women's equality and rights movement happening all at the same time. So the pandemic largely forced people to reconsider, how they do business. It was a chance to build back better, build perhaps more resilient, innovative, more sustainable ways. And then we have the effect that it had on all of our lives, changing the way we live, we work, our education, our social interactions. And more than ever during that time, travelers started to think about the negative impacts that travel may have, and also started to think about how to advance positive impact. And all the research shares that while sustainable behavior amongst travelers was growing before the pandemic definitely accelerated that movement. Then, on top of that, we have a recently declared by the United Nations a climate crisis. We've seen unprecedented heat waves, wildfires, extreme weather events, a recent tropical storm in Palm Springs, even. And we have currently 1 billion plants and animals facing extinction right now. And just this year alone in the United States, 21 animals were declared extinct just last week, just in the US. And then, of course, the racial, gender, and women's movements that we saw come to life largely during the pandemic, but they still continue to be a force. So those are some of the forces that are shaping the evolution externally. And then also the demographics are largely three different demographics that we've seen in the industry, travel industry, that share the most concern about this pivot of sustainability, philanthropy, and travel. And it's largely family travelers, affluent travelers, and millennial and Gen Z travelers as they place the climate crisis as a number one concern. So those are some of the forces and demographics that are sort of leading the evolution.
Thank you. And Joe, that quite leads nicely to of yourselves. Obviously, you have a very close insights on the consumers. How have you seen that from your perspective of at Afar?
Yeah, well, thank you, Sam, for having us here. Excited to be joining all of you here in beautiful West Hollywood. So thank you for including us in this. Thank you to our partners too, West Hollywood, Visit California, and all the collaboration that we've had. And I got to say, I've been here actually for a week. Started here on Tuesday. Brought my leadership team out for 4 days of meetings, just because we feel like this is such an amazing place to be able to come together, have a great time, get in a creative energy, and really just like take our thinking to a next level. So thank you for providing that for us. You know, to get to your question, I mean, obviously there's lots going on. The last several years have been extremely, I think, disruptive, and you know, Jessica outlined some of these forces that are acting upon us. I'd also add, you know, that there's been tremendous increase in wealth in the last several years, and that wealth hasn't been distributed equally. So we're just seeing a lot of that wealth move up to the top, and that's fueled, I think, what we've seen a lot in, you know, in 2021, 2022. A lot of our suppliers have had record years. You know, as I kind of think about this question, though, I think, you know, it's not. I don't know if it's forces shaping the definition of luxury. It's interesting, you know, we just did this little thought experiment about define luxury, and as I was reading Connections magazine that you guys handed out to us, you know, one of the questions you ask all of your subjects in there is define luxury, and it's all very, very different. You know, it's all very, very personal, and people have a very personal relationship to luxury. So I think it's really more not about the forces that are shaping that definition. I feel like that definition, because it's so personal, is something that, you know, will just kind of always be that to you. What I think is happening really is it's how we're serving up the luxury. You know, how are we serving up luxury experiences? How are we delivering that experience? And I think, you know, a lot of that has to do with these forces. Really, to me, what it's shaping are our values. And I know we'll get a little bit more into that, but to me, that is really the core of how consumers are starting to change their habits, is they're starting to really vote with their wallets by voting for what is really important to them. So like these forces like, you know, climate change or equality, when you see that, you know, the decisions that they start to make have ripple effects, you know, little things, you know, single-use, which aren't so little, but single-use plastics. Those high-end luxury travelers start seeing that, continue to see that in the hotel. They'll start to ask those questions. Why are they still doing that? Why is all that plastic there? Why do we have these buffets that, and they start to say, well, where's that food going? How does this hotel have a sustainable management plan? So it starts to really get them to start to ask questions and alter that behavior.
And do you see that as the travel advisors obviously have the close relationship with the clients and the hotels as well for pushing change? Is it stemming from, do you think, the consumers, but also the businesses having to react?
I think it's everything. I think you're starting to see it. I think consumers are starting to drive this. But I do think there are a cohort of travel advisors that are really embracing what this is. And it's interesting, ones that are, caught up to speed on, all of these criteria, whether it's the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN or GSTC's global criteria and all their performance indicators. Travel advisors that are savvy about this are asking the suppliers these questions. And when travel advisors ask suppliers questions and suppliers don't have answers, they don't like that. So it forces them to really start to brush up on and really learn what it takes to really take their operations to a more sustainable place.
Jessica, I suppose the same to you, because you're very close with the businesses on the other side. Have you seen the similar?
Yeah, I think we get that, get into the details in another question with that one. So I think I'll answer that a little bit further down.
Well, so we're diving a little bit more on the consumer insights. So as yourselves, from Kind Traveler, very much a B2B perspective and Afar from the consumers, what insights have you seen that support the case that luxury travel is evolving? Jessica?
Sure, yeah. So last year we produced a impact travel report that basically we had over 1,000 participants. We interviewed 64 hotels and destinations. And across the board, from the Six Senses collection, the Red Carnation collection, all luxury brands, the theme that was in common with all of the partners that contributed was that sustainability, community impact, and individual wellness and wellness experiences, they all had a very strong commitment to all of those efforts across these luxury brands. On the consumer side, the 1,000+ respondents, 97% of them indicated that it was important that their travel dollars made a positive impact in the communities that they visit. And I think some other parallel reports that have popped up that have really caught my eye was Virtuoso did the 2022 Conscious Comeback Survey. And one of the stats shared that 1 out of 5 travelers wish to contribute to sustainable tourism through giving back to local nonprofits. And then in another study that recently came out from Nielsen IQ, about luxury shoppers in the US, 1/3 of them indicated that it was important that luxury brands specifically had sustainable luxury policies that embraced ethical behavior, environmental protection, social responsibility, things like that. So that's some of the data that we've seen in the past year or so.
Yeah, thank you. And Joe, I know we've got insights and on the audience as well from a consumer point of view. We'll send slides afterwards because the screens are very dark. But Joe, from your insights that you've seen at Afar on the audience perspectives, could you share more on that?
Yeah, one of the views again that's outside to that is we don't get to see the TV screens, but I mean, so I guess starting to just like, who do we speak to? We speak to a very affluent traveler. We call them travelers who care, but from just a demographic standpoint, the snapshot for us is the average age of the Afar audience, 39 years old. Just kind of backing up, when we started, our average age was actually 51. So over the last 14 years, as we've continued to dive into really content that aligns with our values and our audience's values, what we've seen is that audience profile is getting younger and younger, which is telling us that that our approach, our point of view, is really attracting a much younger audience. So you're getting a younger demographic. The other thing that you're getting, I think that's actually a millennial right now flying overhead, is you're getting really high average household incomes and net worths. Like our average household income is $433,000. Our average household net worth is like 1.9 million. 47% of our audience is affluent millennials. So just kind of setting the stage so you kind of know this is who we talk to on a regular basis. And what we see is the things that are important to them, the values that really resonate with them. They prefer to go off the beaten path, even on the beaten path places. So when they're coming to cities like LA, yeah, they might want to see some of the regular stops, but they definitely also want to see these behind the scenes or access that we're getting to see in our experiences here. I think they're always looking for locally sourced. That's really an important thing, is understanding where their products and goods are coming from. I'd say also making sure that the experiences they have feel inclusive, that they're available to all different types of people. Is extremely important, that there is a welcoming, and Carolyn talked a lot about this yesterday in her talk, that it feels welcoming, and that people can feel included in these experiences. And I'd say the other thing that that is important to them is always actively trying to minimize environmental impact. So ways that they can do that. They're still going to travel. Travel is always going to be a huge part of what they do, and we believe that everything has costs. You just have to understand those costs so that you can minimize them, and hopefully with your travels really make bigger impacts. And I think that's a lot of the values that are shaping the decisions that our travelers are making.
So I think we saw at the beginning as well that when you shared your insights, very much resonates with those values as well. We've seen a lot of those popping up today. And moving on to what trends, fall in nicely, are you both seeing around luxury and responsible tourism that our industry leaders here should be aware of, and also take note for their own personal developments as either suppliers or travel agencies as well? Jessica.
Yeah, sure. So in that global study that I just mentioned, we identified 10 trends, and you can download it on our website to see the whole study. But today I'm just going to talk about a few of them. And one being that hotels are innovating creative ways to motivate giving back. They're becoming more socially innovative to encourage philanthropic efforts amongst guests as a pathway to garner support for local communities and the environments. And one thing that happened over this last year is Kind Traveler launched a brand new program called Every Stay Gives Back. And it's a community impact program and collection of hotels that resulted after a pilot program where 15 boutique hotels raised more than $83,000 for just 7 local nonprofits. And the program ensures that every guest stay funds a local nonprofit, regardless of where or how someone books. And so the potential to really drive impact becomes enormous. And as one example, in Sonoma County, we had a luxury property there called the Stavran participate, as well as a glamorous camping site called Wild Haven. And they raised $5,000 in just 6 months for an organization called Farm to Pantry, which is helping to solve food waste and food insecurity at the same time. And the $5,000, more importantly, meant that more than 4,000 meals were Sonoma County grown fruits and vegetables, I should say, were served to families in Sonoma County that were, facing food insecurity. So that was an example of that. And those impact metrics become, great for storytelling, for PR angles. They become really easy to communicate with this program. Another trend we see is that transparency for guests is required. They want to know how things are sourced, the culinary to the spa products, to all the services and products throughout the experience. On the menu, they want to know, did it come from a local farm? Was it a humane farm? Is it non-GMO, organic? Is it fair trade? Is it biodynamic? Like, where did it come from? And they want to know about that. The other trend was wellness and close to nature experiences were a priority. And I love that we've seen so many wellness integrations at this event, smoothie bars, the sound healing, that certainly helps to provide healing for people, whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, or mental healing. People are looking to transform themselves, and they want to know that it's not only good for them, but it's also good for the planet. Two other trends we saw is that there's an opportunity for hotels to be regenerative powerhouses. And what I mean by that is many hotels are really doubling down on renewable energy, going plastic free, responsible recycling, zero waste, zero carbon initiatives. And there's an opportunity to take on those initiatives and use it as a powerful storytelling opportunity as well. And then lastly, the measurable sustainability metrics have become more important than ever. It can be really challenging to measure both negative and positive impacts, but if you come up with a strategy and are able to measure them, again, they become a powerful part of your brand, create more visibility, more opportunities to connect and forge more meaningful connections with guests, and a more emotionally relevant connection as well.
Absolutely. I think it also touches upon transparency, where you're saying there are measurability. It's also very much accountability, and that's especially what suppliers and travel agents need to be, is accountable for what happens. We saw with Carolyn's presentation yesterday as well on she shared the luxury trends on adventure, nature, health, authenticity, responsibility. Joe, from yourself, from the consumer insights, have you seen similar patterns?
Yeah, we see a lot of overlap, and we're seeing the same things, which I think is good. It also, the business owner, always makes me a little nervous when we all see the same things. I'm like, all right, what are we not seeing together that we need to be seeing? So that's just something that I'm always kind of playing with in my head. But, I think the last 3 years have been, really, really interesting, chaotic, crazy, tragic, lots gone on. So from what we're hearing out there, I'm sure a lot of these top buyers are hearing this too, is this thirst for joy, this craving for more joy, to infuse joy in everything that we're doing and in our lives and in the people we surround ourselves with. That is just a hugely important thing for our travelers right now, and that's I think that's something that we're all seeing and that we're all personally kind of craving. Obviously experiences are still key. We really realized how important that was, especially during the pandemic. But even, being here together, having you set the table and bringing people together and connecting in different ways. Last night at the bar, Jessica and I were just kind of chatting because we never really had time to, catch up with each other before, always kind of in passing, and realized all these amazing things that we have in common, former teachers, entrepreneurs, all these different, both live in Palm Desert, that's where I'm originally from, so all these kind of things. And so these experiences that bring us together, I think, is hugely important. And one of the things that we've seen in our work is we don't always know what's going to happen when we bring interesting people together in a room, but what we do know is good things will come out of it. Creative moments will come out of it. And so these experiences are still key. We're also seeing that, even with kind of just some of the big events that are happening. Look at, and for Europeans and the Asians, Formula One has always been a really big deal, but now in the United States, it's a really big deal, and that that is a big kind of event. Or what we're seeing, in Vegas with the building of the Sphere, and you're seeing the advertising here on Sunset Strip with U2 performing in these incredible venues. Those are kind of signals to us that people are really hungry for these kind of really big, amazing experiences where they can continue to still have the unique access that doesn't make it feel like they're just waiting in line like everybody else. Obviously, sustainability is mission critical. That's something that is extremely important, only to us personally, to our audience, but also just to the long-term legacy of what we're all building. And so, and when I say sustainability, I'm really talking about, Global Sustainable Tourism Council. If you're not familiar with them, they're an amazing organization, GSTC. They've got all of the criteria that really defines this broad umbrella of sustainability. So not just the planet, which is really important, but how we take care of each other, how we take care of our employees, are all how we source our goods, supply chain integrity and the like. So really being able to, I think more and more these trends of wrapping our heads around kind of a broader definition of sustainability and obviously inclusivity, making sure that everybody's welcome, creating moments of respect and humility, I think is a really important thing. Usually when I know when we open events, one of the things that our CEO does, and I've seen other CEOs do this, Destination Canada, is they actually, start their meetings by acknowledging the lands that they're on, and so we always kind of start with, we begin by acknowledging that we are on the stolen lands of the Tongva people here today, that, tens of thousands of them live before we came and stole these lands. And so to acknowledge that, that I think is an important thing because it allows us, one, to pay respect for people that came before us that we didn't treat very well, and two, it gives us this ability to start from a very humble place. And I think with that humility, good things come out of that. So
yeah, absolutely. And I know Visit California have launched a campaign on that as well, on their native program, and it's very much resonates on that inclusivity and giving back. And you were saying that as well at the beginning, Jessica, with the motivation to give back as product as well. So we have our audience again. We have a second question for you all. If you scan your QR codes. So we've had some really interesting trends that we're noticing, but we want to get that data from you here today as well. So based on the trends that you're going to see on your QR code and what Joe and Jessica have been speaking about, we want to understand what resonates the most with your business or with your clients. So if everyone scans the same on the table, and the next question will appear, and please spend the next minute selecting which trends resonates with you or your clients. Okay. Wow. I mean, quite clearly, we can see experiences is the number one. 87% said that resonates with their clients or businesses. Then we had wellness. Wellness was a key. And then very quite similar with innovation, sustainability, and joy. And transparency. Those are resonating the same at 23% of you. And then regenerative travel and inclusivity actually lower at 15%, which is quite interesting indeed. So we're looking at this as well and how luxury has evolved. When we look at the evolving expectations of luxury, Jessica, come to you first. It would be great to look at how it has evolved over the years and what did it used to look like just 10 years ago or so, and what does it look like today? And what are some of those core themes, elements that you're seeing as well?
Yeah, sure. So luxury 10 years ago, sometimes I think it's helpful to look at other industries such as fashion and culinary to kind of get a sense of like what it used to look like. Old luxury was largely characterized by a material focus on standardized luxury items and comforts. So it might just be like experiences that are very familiar. It's an oasis of luxury. Fashion, it could have looked like furs and exotic skins, lots of bling even was popular 10 years ago. Culinary, exotic and rare animal products and meats. But the theme was that there was really no consciousness to how or where things were sourced back then. One example is how shark fin soup used to be it was a delicacy in China, and now it's illegal because of declined shark populations. So that's kind of an example of like the old luxury. New luxury, we've characterized as a socially conscious luxury that considers authentically local experiences, like we've talked about, but also with a focus on giving back and sustainability. In the travel space, it might look like experiencing and protecting nature as a luxury. Certainly many luxury safaris out there that's, the whole premise of the experience. There's involvement with local people, and then luxury wellness and outdoor experiences. Also, farm to spa is also a movement in that space. For fashion, you'll see lots of plant-based products, ethically sourced and made fashion, slow fashion, regenerative cotton being used for a luxury fashion brand called Christy Dawn here in LA, where you can buy a $600 regenerative cotton dress on Abbott Kinney, that kind of thing. Stella McCartney is another luxury fashion brand who creates vegan purses and bags, and but she's also an animal activist. So that's kind of in the fashion space how we look at new luxury. And then in culinary, you see the locally sourced items, farm to table, organic, sometimes plant-based menus, or at least the availability of plant-based foods. And I love the example here in West Hollywood, Crossroads Kitchen. If you haven't been there, I definitely recommend it. But it's fine dining, but it's all plant-based. And the chefs get really innovative and creative. They actually just launched a new location on the Las Vegas Strip, and have plans to expand as well from there. But it's interesting to kind of get a sense of what it looks like across industries, because I think travel is influenced by fashion, especially luxury travel, and in culinary. So we look at these other sectors to also see the other influences that are shaping new definitions of luxury.
So, and we're going to go into some case studies a bit later, but also we see it doesn't necessarily have to be a product who's out in the, in the outbacks or having loads of space to actually have that opportunity to farm to table. You could be a city-based product and still
That's right.
utilize the space you have, and then partners locally.
Absolutely, yeah. You don't have to actually have the farm in your backyard. It can still come from local farms, even if you're a city product, yeah.
Absolutely. And Joe, for yourself, how has luxury evolved over the years from your perspective, especially from a consumer insights point of view, with Afar, and how has the consumer mindset changed?
Yeah, so I mean, as I think about like old luxury, we got a little moth over
We have
there.
nature greeting us.
Um,
It gets
so-
like half hummingbird, half bee.
There we go. See you, guy. So old luxury. When I think about kind of when we came on the scene in 2009, I think what we were really fighting against or reacting against really was this kind of like the fantasy of travel. You know, the supermodel on the elephant on the deserted beach, in some exotic locale. Now, like I'm sure especially here, we all love supermodels and we all love elephants and we all love deserted beaches. How many people have seen in their travels supermodels on elephants on deserted beaches? I haven't yet. And so that was really kind of like this moment for us that said, it's not about the fantasy of travel. It's about seeing the world as it really is in all of its beautiful colors and really celebrating that. So that was one of the jumps we made, was to go from, this fantasy to this more, authentic approach. Now I think where we're at, Afar started with this idea of really helping global, like open-minded, curious global citizens have deeper, richer, more meaningful experiences in the places that they're going. And I think, what we see, especially through the pandemic, and what helped us kind of evolve our ideas of luxury and how our ideas of how to really give our travelers the most meaningful experiences was that, all right, well, we're getting these amazing, meaningful, deep, rich experiences, but what can you do with that? How can you take that to the next place? How can you help, pay it forward based on essentially the privilege of being able to travel in this kind of way? So, I think what we're seeing now is more and more travel advisors, suppliers are pushing gently consumers into doing experiences that actually have a benefit or a positive impact on the places where we're going, whether it's being out in the farms and learning how that food is being sourced, or going on a community impact like volunteer experience to really understand how cities or how organizations are really supporting those that are less fortunate than us, and giving those travelers an opportunity to do that. I think, at the luxury level, we can tend to be a little bit shy about, what we want to push our customers into and our travelers into. And I think now is an amazing opportunity, because travelers are looking more and more for this. It's an opportunity for you to really help take them there. One of our first editors told us as we were building the blueprint for the magazine, said, Joe, you got to take people through a front door that they feel comfortable with, so you can take them through a side door that just completely blows their mind. And so that's just been a kind of a strategic approach that we've used. And we know that when we take them out that side door to something that they hadn't expected, to something that they can actually touch and feel that they're really making a difference, that makes them want to come back, and that makes them, happy that they were able to do what they did.
Absolutely. You're very good, because I was going to ask the exact question of how we here can implement that into our business, but I think you covered it pretty well there. On your QR code, we've got our final question of the day. There you'll see, when you scan, 7 pillars of luxury that Jessica is going to explore a bit later. But we wanted to understand from yourselves, are you implementing any of these 7 pillars of luxury into your businesses currently, and based on your perception of these 7 pillars? So take a moment to scan the QR code. All 7 will appear, and we would like to understand who is either implementing those, or perhaps you're not doing any. Be interesting to see. All right, well, we'll stop it there. So if you can see a screen, but in front of me I've got, so the 7 pillars. First of all, nature experiences, again, playing on that experiences, and Jessica spoke quite well on the nature side of those experiences. That hit 28%. We've got wellness-minded at 22%. Community engagement, 21%. Environmental protection came at 16%. And giving back, philanthropy, I could say I'm terrible with words, 7%. And then sustainable design and architecture at 5%. And then finally at the lowest was actually inclusivity, again, DE&I forward. So that's how currently you're seeing or implementing into your businesses. And Jessica, love for you to sort of explore more about these 7 pillars and how you've seen this framework that you've developed, and how this resolves around visitors enjoying these experiences, but how can those 7 pillars be benefit to our audience today?
Yeah, of course. So the framework was largely designed as a way where visitors can have these priceless experiences that are good for their own health, but knowing that they're also good for local communities and the environment too. So to kind of break it down a little bit, community engagement might be just things like the employment of local people, sourcing local goods, local supply chain, supporting local artists, makers, innovators, things like that. When we look at DEIA and being forward about inclusivity, you might show the ways that perhaps racial or gender diversity are celebrated. Women-owned, Black-owned, BIPOC, those types of initiatives. Some other things around that sector is accessibility, support for people with disabilities, and also the mindset of all are welcome. That is largely under that DEIA category, that all people are welcome. Sustainable design and architecture, again, might look as locally sourced supply chain, efforts to reduce or eliminate carbon footprint, and efforts overall to make it easy for travelers, if they want to fill up their water bottle, like have a water refill station nearby, like simple things like that. Giving back is just about supporting local causes. Nonprofits have wonderful missions. They're healing our oceans, they're planting trees, they're solving poverty. So supporting local causes can show your customers that you stand for something, that you care about the planet, you care for other people. It might be in the form of donating to local nonprofits or voluntourism projects. That's also a popular one. For environmental protection, it could look like motivating citizen science projects. That's a big theme that's come up over the last few years. But cultivating habitats on property, like bee and butterfly gardens, those could be also lean into that. I know that there's a few hotels even here in West Hollywood that have those kind of initiatives. Nature experiences is another pillar. We kind of already talked about that one. Wellness minded, again, unique experiences that transform. So I love this, sound healing, guided meditation, yoga, things that promote healthy eating, fitness, lifestyle, and things that enhance spiritual, mental, physical transformation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we saw earlier with the percentages are very extreme from, all the way down. But actually, we want to be able to sort of level those up and actually have all of these being implemented as a, key part of our businesses going forwards. And it's not just one pillar; the pillars hold it all together. Joe, as well, from your perspective, how have we seen this? Where we are right now when it comes to responsible travel as a luxury industry, and what would you say we're missing as luxury travel experts? And
I think the work is just beginning, honestly. And I think, if I think about like when we were going through COVID and, you're getting these stories of being able to see, whether it was true or not, dolphins swimming in the canals of Venice, and like the air is cleaner than it's ever been before. I thought it was going to be a real amazing opportunity for us to really kind of try to get, at least not get out ahead of, but really catch up to where we need to be in terms of making the efforts we need to make to keep this place going in a way that's enjoyable for us. And so I feel like what's happened really with just the huge amount of demand in 22, all of us trying to figure out how we're going to staff up, make sure we maintain these service levels that we all hold ourselves accountable to. I feel like the sustainability conversation really kind of moved to the side table for the last year, and that makes me a little bit nervous. Where we need to go, and I think what's missing is just, I love the quote, to understand is to know what to do next. So the more that we as a community of individuals and colleagues in this industry understand all of the different and fine points around what sustainability means, and to start to take action, meaningful action in measuring our efforts, and then just slowly trying to move them forward. That really is the push that I feel like that we need to come together on. And I encourage everybody. I mentioned GSTC before. I don't work for them. I don't get anything from them. I just think they're a great organization that really cares about the planet. Become members. It's not expensive. They're a nonprofit. It's not a lot of money. I've taken one of their sustainability courses. Several week kind of course with a cohort of individuals in our industry. That helped me understand kind of the framework. So just starting, and we're all in different places in our journeys. Some, whether it's the Mike Frieds and Passport Resorts of the world, who that's what they that's essentially why they exist, right? Yes, and so like I know that, and so they're further along on the journey than some others are, and so just really recognizing where you are on the journey and really making I think a commitment to doing something is really kind of what's missing industry wide.
just to expand on that as well, looking at sort of some key case studies, what brands have you personally seen? Joe, I'll come to you first.
Yeah.
When it comes to responsible travel, who are actually, doing it well either in California or internationally, and, what can experts here and take that into their own businesses?
Yeah, well, obviously, so like in California, lots of great work going on. I mean, you mentioned, the Native American initiatives that Visit California championed and really initiated. I think that's something amazing to work at. Look at what, another individual at Visit California, Dan Smith's doing, really trying to get all of the different regions on board to understand all the work that's going on in sustainability. Outside of California, I was just in Singapore last month. It was my first time there in 7 years. completely very impressed. They became GFCC members. They really take this very seriously from how they develop their new properties. Now they're mandated for every one like square meter of concrete that is in the structure, you need 1 square meter of trees. So this 1-to-1 ratio of planted flora in your in your structures. A lot of those hotels are taking that a step even further, going to a 3-to-1 ratio. So that's something kind of on that side. And then if you look, I was just in Baltimore 3 weeks ago, and which I hadn't been in 20 years, and really impressed by the work that they're doing in the community impact side. Really, there's a lot of pride in Baltimore. You might see them in the news a lot for, you know, some of the violent crime that's happened there recently, and they deal with that. But what they're trying to do is really rally around their locals and really invite locals and impact makers in that city to be the face of Baltimore and really create, you know, a sense of community, and that's something that we'd love to celebrate.
Great. And funny, I'll come to you, Jessica. And do you have examples of brands who have particularly shifted from their strategies from the old versus new luxury definition?
Yeah, well, first I want to talk about some California brands that are doing it really well here. Post Ranch Inn, you know, right here, be great example of a leader in sustainability and community impact. They have clearly stated initiatives all over their website where you can learn about what they're doing. So that transparency piece is really prevalent. I also love the Farmhouse Inn. Hey, Joe. They do such a wonderful job sourcing everything locally and consciously, and then they communicate that to their guest, and everything from their spa to their culinary to like even in-room types of products and sourcing. You just feel it, and it really like creates a different experience when you're there. And also the ranch, they do a great job. Kurt, are you here? I don't know. Maybe not, but they do a wonderful job in communicating all of the wonderful initiatives as well. When it comes to brands that have shifted their strategies from this old luxury to new, you know, I think that like every luxury brand has shifted in some way. I think there's still a lot of work to be done. It's hard to pinpoint like actual examples, but I do love how Six Senses collection internationally, how they've communicated and presented themselves through their websites. It's, I mean, they've really taken it like to a whole other level. And it's not just about eliminating or reducing carbon impact, but it's also about creating positive impact and then getting their guest involved with, you know, workshops and experiences. They have like a candle initiative where you recycle cooking oil and turn it into soaps and candles. Like they get their guest involved. And I definitely encourage everyone to check out what they're doing because it's really inspiring.
Thank you. And we've got 20 seconds, 30 seconds left of this before lunch. So I just wanted to ask a final summary question to you both. What would you say, Joe, I'll come to you first, you know, the key, how can we as travel leaders benefit from the evolution definition of luxury? What would be the key takeaway if you had one last word?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, for all of us here, and I know there is a range of probably, I mean, if I, like we do on our surveys, ask, do you care about sustainability? You know, it's like 98% of the people care about sustainability. Well, if you truly were raising your hand, it wouldn't be 98%, right? And so you have to, first, I think what we have to do is figure out, like, why is that important to me? What is it that's important? And so, like, for me, the one, you know, if I can, one takeaway on that is think about the legacies that you want to have when you leave these businesses and when you leave this planet. Like, what do you want your legacy to be? And I think looking through that lens makes it really clear and really sharp that, you know what, when you hand your business to someone else, you want, I think, to feel like this world's going to be in a better place than when you left it. And so that to me is really kind of a way to really frame the importance and the sense of urgency is like, what do you want your legacy to be? And how do you want people to remember you and your business when you're not here? And so I think it just creates a sharp focus for what the work we really need to be doing.
Jessica, same to you.
Yeah, I mean, sustainability is a journey. It can't be carried out in isolation. It's, partnerships are required to move it forward, and it doesn't happen in a day. But as Joe mentioned, I think there's some really low-hanging fruit things that brands can do to take a step forward. And Surfrider Foundation has an excellent ocean-friendly restaurants program. Kind Traveler has its new Every Stay Gives Back program. You have the GSTC Corporation or GSTC certification available. Becoming a certified B Corp is another example.
That's something we're actually in the process of doing right now.
That's great. Yeah, that's wonderful. And also the future of tourism principles. Check that out. It's free. You can go on there. There's, I think, 8 pillars that were created by essentially all the sustainable tourism nonprofits in the world contributed to create these 8 or 9 pillars. It's called the Future of Tourism Principles. And that could be a very easy starting point just to check that out.
Thank you very much. Well, for me, that I learned a lot. That was a really, really insightful session. And thank you, Joe and Jessica. I hope everyone's taken a lot from that. And if, of course, they're here all the rest of the day and tonight as well. So if you've got any further questions, if you want the slides, let us know and we can send you those insights as well. But they are here too.